What's up, y'all? Welcome to The Conversation with Yale, featuring DannyBoy for his new album coming out next Friday, March 22nd.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
March 22nd, 2024.
This is just gonna be a conversation about not just the new album coming out, but just the legacy of like everything we've been doing for, over 2 years.
2 years, man.
2 years of music producing, marketing,
Yeah, for sure.
business calls at midnight.
For sure.
It's
Let's talk about how we even first met, first of all. How we first got in contact. Because this, actually, if y'all don't know, this is our first time ever meeting.
This is our first time ever meeting. And we started working in 2022.
Yeah.
In like August or something.
I think it was like August or something.
Because it was right when you were right when you started like the single rollout for Some Say It's Selfish.
Yeah.
Which, if y'all don't know, like that's like behind the scenes, like that's our album. Like I mixed and mastered all of it, which that was a long process, but it
took forever.
It was a good I love that album.
That album was
still
crazy, man.
Dude, I have so
you
many.
know. They delete it now, but if you know, you know.
Yeah.
But I remember just making music, and I remember everything, the whole story. I remember I posted my story on Instagram. And it was like my song called Overtime. And I think I posted the lyrics and I just put the song, like, on Instagram, you can add the song on there. So I put the song, then I never seen this dude. I didn't even know he followed me, none of that. And he like swiped up on my stories like, hey bro, like I make beats. Like I think you'll like I can make your type of style. And I was like, all right, I bet.
Because it was when you were making R&B.
Yeah, for sure.
And I used to only do R&B when I first started. And so the first one I sent you was Toxic.
It was called Last Call.
Last Call.
That's what the beat was
But then
called.
what it ended up being was
Toxic Love.
Yeah.
The first beat he ever sent was the first song we ever put out. And it was crazy because I think like in the message, like we ended up sending like either, I think our number. Our number. And that's how we got in contact, was our number. And
that's the first message I ever sent, was just that audio file.
Yeah. And I remember the beginning that was mad long because it was like I don't know, I was like,
I had made it. I'm a fan of I like long intros and cool outros. And I sent it to him and he's like, I think I'm gonna make this an interlude. And when he sent it back to me, it had all my outro cut out. I was like, dang. It's okay.
No, because it was like way too. I was like waiting. I'm like listening to the beat. I remember I was in school and I was listening to it. And I'm like, and I'm trying to write while I'm in class. I'm like trying to write, and I'm like, like the whole time, like the whole
somebody calling,
someone calling you, and I was like waiting for that beat drop, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna just cut it out, cut the beginning just a little bit. I left some in there. I left some in there, but then
it ended up being a perfect interlude because. I mean, we released that one as a single, and then we put it on Some Say It's Selfish.
Sure.
And what's crazy is how well it fit in the album, because all the other songs on Some Say It's Selfish just came together so well.
Yeah.
And just that one, just as an interlude, it was so perfect.
Nah, yeah.
And I was like, you know what? I think as soon as he sent me it back, because I'm really picky with who I work with, like who, I put on my beats. And when he sent it back to me, I'm like, okay, this is it.
It was. I remember thinking too, like, because usually, like, I be going on YouTube, free for profit type beats, whatever, and then now it's like he was like the first person. Well, yeah, he was probably like the main first person to ever like send me beats, like straight up that were like good. So I was like, worked on that the Toxic Love beat, and then he kept sending some more, and I was like, all right. But I already had like songs in the vault, like I was already like planning to use. And the whole Some Say Selfish, he named that. You remember when he named that album? I remember I was
we were sending, because you were sending covers back and forth, and then we decided on the one that it ended up being, and you're like, I want something
like chill,
something chill, something that rolls out the tongue. And I was just like, I don't think it was the first one I came up with.
Yeah.
But I was like,
you were like, I remember the text you're saying, like, this kind of gave me Some Say Selfish vibes.
Yeah.
Like, you're saying that.
Because I said it out to myself, and I'm like, we'll see how it goes. And then, there it is.
Now then, it became history. But hey, if you know, you know. The album's deleted now on all platforms too.
Dude, it makes me sad though. I think I have the whole album still, obviously.
Yeah, because it's filed
but
and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, I still love that album. I mean, that album holds. Yeah, you know,
Yeah,
is probably one of my favorite. That's probably my favorite Danny Boy song, which is funny because like it's deleted now,
Yeah.
but I play that song every now and then.
Yeah, that was a good one. Or I remember like there was one called "Tell Me the Plans," and I made that like
Yeah,
I made
dude.
that way earlier. Like that was already released, but I was like, man, like that fits like the
Hmm.
night drive, like
Yeah,
late at night, listen to like that's what it fits. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna throw that back on there, and then
and that's what crazy. I think it's like a lot of artists, like especially SoundCloud. You know, like you start in the SoundCloud era. A lot of artists try to make that dark sound. You know, like
yeah,
and
chill, low
the
key,
chill low
yeah,
key,
yeah,
but like even if it's more of like a harsh dark sound. And I think that's what stood out about you is like you had that dark aesthetic, but like your vocals and your
it was more
delivery.
like how I explained it, like or how I thought about it before was like trap soul, like
Hmm.
Bryson Tiller, like how his whole don't all that. That's because before that was where I gave my life to Christ, so I was like trying to go into that era, like okay, like
Hmm.
let me just like make something like this, and I would hear a bunch of Bryson Tiller songs, and like all right, let me.
Hmm.
I wasn't trying to copy him, but I liked the way it sounded. It was like love, like love's supposed to be upbeat, but I like how he made it low key and like more chill and like so. Then that came to be, and then switched my life around, changed my music. I didn't. It wasn't even the first like right when I gave my life to Christ. It wasn't like right away like I
Hmm.
deleted my music and none. I just remember like that was one of the hardest things was to make change or delete music or stop making music like
Yeah.
that. Just because I like making that type of music, but then I remember like I remember was it? I remember no, I remember he was working on his album,
Hmm.
which I don't even know if y'all know about yet. I don't think you ever said nothing about it, right?
Not yet.
He tried to get me, No Cap Zed,
Shout
Janaya.
out No Cap Zed
Yeah, for sure.
on his new album. If you like trap, that album's good for
For
you.
sure, for sure.
Shout out to No Cap Zed.
Yeah, so he tried to get No Cap Zed. He tried to get Cyrus,
Yeah,
Janaya. Uh, I'm throwing some
I had a
names.
couple of artists. I mean, I
What was
still
that dude
do.
name?
I mean,
The Matt
I got Icky.
Icky.
Shout
Yeah.
out Icky. I love him,
What
man.
was that one dude on the Sneaky? What's his name?
DC Gray. Shout out DC Gray on his new album also.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So he's trying to get all those people on this album. It was more of like a pop. What was it like a pop
It's
like?
like I don't want to give too much away, but it's like a club, more like a trap club, if we want to call it that.
Yeah.
Um, it's my utopia is how I'll word it. It's man, y'all might not see that album for a year or
2
more.
years, 3 years.
Yeah,
He's
it's
gatekeeping.
it's in the works. It's past the first stage, but yeah, I sent what it ended up being was um gosh, I don't even remember what
What?
I ended up naming it, but I sent
Oh,
that
it
beat to
was I
you.
Love It If You Miss Me or something like
Yeah,
that.
I love it if you miss
Oh,
me.
that's the album.
That's
Oh
the
crap, we just
album.
leaked that. But
Um,
but he
wait,
sent me a song. He sent me a beat, and or I think it had
can't
Zed.
stop.
It can't stop. It had
Yeah.
Zed on it, and I remember I was like, oh man, it's gonna go hard. I'm like, all right. So I remember literally like this little TMI, but I was using the restroom, and that's when my best ideas come out. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? So I was using the restroom, and I'm like listening to the beat. And I'm like, I didn't have my mic on me, so I just used my phone to kind of like get a reference.
And the clip he sent me from his phone is the one that I ended up using in the master,
Yeah, like
which
and then you told me to re-record it
mhm,
like a little bit just because it was a little like scratchy or whatever.
yeah,
But
there was one clip that I was like, hey, just re-record this, but everything else is
yeah,
from that little phone clip. And I remember I was like, dude, I was like, this is it. And then he texted me and he's like, hey, I don't think that I'm gonna go through with
yeah.
it anymore. And
Well,
I'm
because
like,
let's there's some context. Cause I made that thing. I made it.
yeah,
I remember I was like, bro, this went hard, like da da da.
hmm,
Then, like I said, like I was already in my journey of like a guy was already dealing with me with like making music for him and like using my talent because like we all got talent. So it's like if he gave you the talent, you got to use it for him. Like you should. And so I remember I already had that conviction. I was like, man, like if I can do music like for the world, like and it's good, like I'm pretty sure I can do music for God and be way better. So I remember how the time went by, and I was already thinking about it. I'm like, man,
hmm,
like I didn't want to tell him. I didn't want because I knew like he liked
yeah,
that song, so I didn't want to like, nah, bro, like you can keep the song, but like, this guy take me out, like use somebody else, like da da da. So I didn't want to do that, but I was like, man, like I'm gonna just I know he's cool and understanding, so he's not gonna be tripping.
yeah.
So
We talked about it, and I think that's really when you took that step of like addressing it, like, hey, I think,
paragraphs,
yeah,
paragraph.
Yeah, long conversations about it.
Yeah.
And I think that's really when the tone shifted for how we made music.
Yeah.
Like how we both
For
like,
sure.
because he sends me snippets or like demos all the time.
And that's how like that's you think like people who haven't met for 2 years
Mm-hmm.
like think like I even thought too like we were gonna like kind of like fall off like kind of like
Mm-mm.
kind of fade out whatever, but it was just because we kept sending ideas, kept sending
Yeah,
beats, demos, and getting just da 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 whatever. So
hour-long phone calls
yeah, for
at
sure,
like
master
11
planning,
o'clock at
master
night.
planning. So yeah, but yeah, so that's what we just did. Like, it shifted everything, and he already knew my mission and everything I was trying to do. And then eventually, like, I think my first, like I said, I didn't completely delete my music or stop
Mm-hmm.
making like really music. I kind of like try to like slowly diet down, but
Yeah,
I made Count Your Blessings. I made that one.
Yahweh,
Yeah, I made
and then
Yahweh.
go. I
I know
think one
it
of
was Count Your Blessings, and then it was way back, way back. That's because
yeah,
yeah, I remember I made way back, and I
I
was
forgot
already
about that one.
yeah, I was making it's one of my favorite ones, low key. But I made way back, and I sent it to him. And he's like, bro, like, let me get
Mm-hmm.
on this, bro, like da da da. And I'm like, all right, bro, I got you.
I
So
remember if we can talk about way back for a second. I remember
yeah,
you sent that one to me, and if he had $1 for every time I'm like, hey, you know what? Before you release that, I'm gonna throw a feature on it, and I didn't.
yeah,
He'd be rich by now. Like, cause I hear stuff and I'm like, oh, I could do this and that, but I'm not. I don't really like delivering verses anymore, just cause like,
yeah,
I would much rather produce.
yeah, for sure.
Producing is my bag for sure. He sent me way
Delivery,
back,
yeah,
and something about it, I was like, you know what? I actually kind of want to do something with it, because we had also just released a few months prior. We had released my single, Kansas City
yeah,
Freestyle,
yeah, yeah.
which still goes hard,
It's still
still
it's
goes
crazy.
hard,
Yeah, yeah,
and he sent me way back. And the night I had to turn it in, I was like, I still hadn't recorded something because I couldn't get lyrics down. And so I went in, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try something different. I put the mic in my closet, and I went in there, I turned all the lights off, and I just sat in there. And I was like, okay, go. And I just
how
like,
many times did I fall to
how
my
many times did I
yeah
fall to my knees and you picked me up and lifted me back
back to
to
my
my knees?
feet? Yeah, there you
And
go.
I
So
just like, it all came to me so smoothly. And it wasn't,
Holy Spirit, man, Holy
it was
Spirit.
just like, it was so smooth. And I think that that's when I was like, you know what? This is good. And I sent it to him, and it came out. And I always forget about that one.
All right, that's one of my favorite ones. Just because like the lyrics, my very first lyrics, like or the first part of the song, like was like where I was at in my life. A
Mm-hmm.
lot of people say like, "Oh, I was in this time of my life, so I made like no, like I was really like that. Like with that
Mm-hmm.
song, I was saying like in the beginning, I was like, how'd it go? Way, I'm trying to find my way back, so stay back,
I'm
say
trying to
bye to the dead man,
Yeah.
take my grave back, and I know I can lose track. Sorry for the lack, like. So like the whole thing what I was saying was talking about like trying to find my way back. Like
Mm-hmm.
I was Christian, gave my life to Christ at like 8, and then all the way up to like 12, 13, I ended up falling away, going to the world and all that. So then when I gave my life November 26, 2022, I made a that song was like I'm trying to find my way back, so stay back. Like I was like people were still
Mm-hmm.
trying to hit me up. People were like, people around me. I was like stay back, man. Like I'm trying to
Mm-hmm.
change. Like I couldn't be around the same people, but so that was really like I was going through. And if you can see too, like if you go on like what's it called, like the canvas on Spotify where like
Mm-hmm.
pops the videos. If you look like, or even like the trailer of the video on Instagram, it was like me when I was younger, and then like me on the studio when I was like 8 years old, and it was kind of like I said, like trying to go back to like my first love, like my first like which is Jesus, my first love. So I was like, that's what that whole song was about, and the fact that like you can send somebody. That's what I appreciate about him the most was that you can send somebody a song, and like they'll like you can talk about a certain topic, but they won't even talk about that topic of the song.
Mm-hmm.
But he stayed on. He was talking about God, like everything that God did for him, and da da da. And there's been times like I ain't gonna name drop, but there was a song I
Mm-hmm.
made that's one of my biggest songs right now, and I sent it to somebody, and he wasn't talking about nothing I was talking about. And then I was like, all right, and I ended up taking them off and putting somebody
Mm-hmm.
else, and the joint blew up. But
I think that that's one thing that like you see longevity in duos is when they understand without even like acknowledgement of what the other person wants from a song.
Yeah, I
You
mean it's
know?
kind of common sense though too. Like if we
Yeah.
talking about living for Jesus and da da da, I don't think you should be talking about smoking and da da da. And that's what I was saying, like with the whole back to the Can't Stop, the song that's unreleased and all that.
Mhm.
Like when the only reason why I wanted to get off of it was just because the way Zed was rapping and how he was
Mhm.
talking all grimy, which is cool. Like, that's his thing, right? So it's like how is my platform gonna be Jesus, you know, this and that, and then I'm gonna be on a song that's
Mhm.
total opposite of what I'm trying to represent. So I didn't think about that when I made the lyric. I wouldn't have done
Mhm.
it, but I didn't think about it until after. I'm like, man, like which it was fire. Like there'd be times I'd be catching myself listening to. I'm like,
Mhm.
man, it's only, like my hook was
I still
fire.
listen
Like
to it.
yeah, you know. So I had to realize I'm like, man, like everything's gonna come back. And this is before Is It You? This is before Yahweh.
Mhm.
This is before all these songs that blew up, like straight up from like just people like engaging with it and stuff. So I was like kind of just trusting God, like, all right, I'm gonna stop music. I'm gonna stop making this type of music. I'm not gonna be featured unless we talking about Jesus. Like I'm not doing none of that. So then put in God's hands and joint went up. But that's why we got Save the Youth, man. So it's crazy.
Yeah,
But
and we can talk about that for a second, just the starting of Save the Youth with all of that. I mean, whether it be like the just the merch and the
Save the
clothing.
Youth, yeah, Save the Youth started. Yeah, okay, well, I'm gonna give you some background on Save the Youth. So Save the Youth was March 2023 when I started doing the merch, and I was like, and my mom had a Cricut, you know, the
Mhm.
press and everything like that. So I was just like, man, like I want to make. I've always wanted. I think everybody's always wanted to make some type of merch, like you
Mhm.
know. So I was like, let me see. So and this is already after I gave my life to Christ, which was 2022 November 26th. So I'm doing the merch. I'm trying to see some ideas, think of new names, and I don't know why, but Save the Youth like came in my head. I'm like, Save the Youth, that's low key hard. But then it's like you have an idea, but you got to put it on a shirt or on a paper or like on
Mhm.
something. So you got to realize like you got to think on okay how I'm gonna do it. So the font for it was like an old English looking font. Put it on the shirt, and then I just wore it. I put it on my shirt. Like I only had that hoodie, and then like I just posted it. I started getting orders from people at church, friends at school. Everybody wanted to get some, and I tried to start making different designs or somewhat different designs and stuff. So I sold like over $1,000 worth of like merch on just that, and I kind of shut it off. Not shut it off, but kind of slowed down just because of the fact like you got to make ideas and like make new
Mhm.
designs. And so that's a shout out to my boy Elijah making all the new designs coming up. So but that's what Save the Youth started. And I remember thinking like if I go back, I remember thinking around that time, like if I make Christian music, I'm not gonna make a song about Save the Youth. I'm not gonna make it about the album called Save the Youth, just because I wanted Save the Youth to be like the merch, like you know,
Mhm.
like in its own category. I didn't want to affiliate it with my music. So that's where my head was at. And so I started thinking, I'm like, man, like I need to. I don't know why, but I'm like, Save the Youth. Like that's more than merch. Like it's more like it's a lifestyle. Like it's a more than just a statement or a motto. It's like a way to live. It's the way you see things. You know what I mean, or how you see people, how you see young people. So like, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just do it. Then I ended up telling him like, yeah, I'm about to make this album, Save the Youth. You know, this and this and that, and then send him some demos. Like demos, like we got like what 14 songs on Save the Youth right now,
Mhm.
minus like the two skits, I think. Yeah, minus two skits. So those are like what we have, like delivered for y'all. But
There are so many.
demos, I'm talking demos on
Like,
demos on demos of just trying it out, trying to find the right sound.
yeah, I think when we first started talking final track list, we were like, dang, you could do like an 18 song album,
Yeah,
but we didn't. One thing
we
that,
didn't want to flood it.
yeah, I didn't want to muddy it at all, because that's one thing that as a producer, that I see a lot of in a lot of bigger artists, is just the flooding of music, and quantity over
40
quality.
song album, can't even get
Yeah,
to all of it in one night. Like
it's just, and I think that that's one thing that kind of how I saw the shift from like viewing his music and like the stuff that he would send me, was the quality increased so much, in not just like the production we were going with and we were selecting, that he was sending me, thinking like, hey, I want to do this style, and it's completely different than the demo he sent me before. But I think it's also like the deliveries on this album, like
yeah,
the energy on this album on some of the songs is just, one song in particular, Revelation Freestyle,
oh yeah, for sure.
which
Mix by the one and only, man.
he sent that to me, and I was like, okay, yeah, I
Shout out
need
to Chris. Shout out to
shout
Chris.
out to Chris.
Man. Yeah,
That I
Chris.
think.
Chris sent me that. Like so we made which is crazy because I got like 3 songs with Chris, which is I'll Get Back to You, which is already released. Go get that. Then I got Revelation Freestyle that's coming out March 22nd on the album. Then we have another one called Some Mo. It's called Some Mo, and that was the first song we made. We went to my cousin's house. He was there, and we're just like, let's make a song. Like every time like we hang out with somebody, everybody knows like I make music, so everybody's trying to make music.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so I'm like, all right, bet, like let's make a song, da da da. So we trying to look for beats. I'm talking like I was thinking like we weren't gonna get nowhere. So we found a beat. And I'm like, and I started like y'all never heard that. I've never even previewed it, nothing. But so we started making the song, and I remember Chris recorded his lyrics. I'm talking, bro, is like he's already making music from the beginning, but it was for the world. Like he's already making music, and he was more of like a feature. Like he never made his own solo song, no nothing. Like it was more features. So when we started doing it, I'm like, man, like, and he always wanted to do music with me. So I'm like, man, like this dude, he got some heat. So then after that, we made I'll Get Back to You because he sent me that beat from I'll Get Back to You, and I was like, he's like, bro, like do something on this, this and this and that. I'm like, all right, but I'll try. And then I got in my spirit, I started praying, like, Lord, like give me something to say, speak through me. So boom, I started rapping. I sent it to him. That like literally, I finished it. I finished my whole part within an hour or two, or an hour and 30. Then I sent it to him, and that was on a Saturday night. Then Sunday, he said he came back from church. He's like, bro, I've been bumping this all day. Like it was a demo. He's like, I've been bumping this all day. I'm finna write to this too. So, and then we literally got in the car. He came to my house. We got in the car, and we just started recording in the car. Like, and he just recorded his whole thing. He literally could have done all of that in one take.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, hey, you got to kind of chop it up, kind of breathe a little bit. Like, you don't want to run out of breath. So, yeah, but shout out to Chris, man, because he making fire music right now. He got a little single he's working on with, but
there's so much energy on the album, and I think the features that you do have are just everybody understood like how you wanted it done, but also they understood it for themselves of like, like you were saying with people getting on songs and completely off topic of
yeah,
what the song is centered around. Everybody's verse is a line. The album is very consistent, I think.
for sure.
It's just the way that it sounds.
Shout out to Jahil, man, on Rain.
Mm-hmm.
My uncle sent me he was on this account called San Antonio Foods. It's kind of like a promo account, and he was on that account. My uncle sent to me. He was rapping in Spanish, but in English, like for Jesus, like Christian rap. And I'm like, damn, it's so hard. So I remember I followed him. He followed me back, and I'm like, yo, bro, like, I'm like I said, I'm not trying to work with nobody that's not on the same thing as I'm on. Like, if you're talking about drugs and this and that, like, I'm not gonna make a song with you because we're on a whole different thing. But with him, he was making music like me, like Christian music, da da da. So you can see the fruit behind it. So I'm like, hit him up, and I'm like, yo, da da da, we gotta work on something. He's like, all right, bet, bro, just let me know. And so then I think a couple weeks or a month going by, and I made Rain. Excuse me. I made Rain, and I was like, man, like this one, and I had a Spanish verse on mine. Like I did a little Spanish part. Whew, that's he. So I did a little Spanish verse on that, and then I was like, man, like he speaks Spanish, he raps in Spanish. I'm gonna send it to him. Send it to him. He bodied that joint. I think you heard it, right? Yeah, you
Yeah,
heard it. Yeah, yeah.
Rain is another one, I think, because the way that when he started talking, okay, we got these songs, how are we gonna organize them? Rain for me, I saw it as it's a good slowdown of like, okay, we got some pretty hype songs in the beginning. Let's do a slowdown before we kick up for the few grand finales. And
Yeah.
when he sent me Rain, I didn't even know that there was a feature on it because the demo title was just Rain. I was like, okay, we just got a demo, and the feature came on. I was like, yo, this is Rain is probably the
Heat.
most like,
That was the most like for me, like I'm
yeah.
gonna cut you off, but like that was the most like out of Yahweh was the first one I made for that was Christian to start off the album, then Go, and then Is It You. But Rain was that one where I was in the closet and I'm just like man, like I like it's the one when you hear the beat and I'm hearing the beat and I'm just like walking through the fire like I'm
Mm-hmm.
outside. Like I'm thinking like and I just came out, just flowed out of my mouth. I'm like, oh crap. So I started typing on my phone the lyrics so I don't forget it. And I started building on it. And now I remember like the part where I say rain, I'm like trying to sing it, but I couldn't hit the note. So I'm like, Lord, like I need to hit this note. Like this is how I want it to be. Like I can already hear it in my head. Now all of a sudden, supernaturally, boom, I just hit that note. and eventually boom, boom, boom. And I'm talking about like you know, how the whole thing of rain is kind of just wanting God's love and God's presence.
As it starts to rain,
Is it raining right
it's literally raining right
now?
now.
Hey, is it?
It's like,
Oh yeah, I see it. Yeah.
I'm like, what is that noise?
There you go. Rain. But rain is just
That's
pretty much
crazy.
talking about just like wanting God's love, and kind of just feeling apart. But as it says in the Bible, is that we can't, nothing can separate us from God's love. So that's why I read that, and I'm just like, I even said a line. I was like trying to find like something about, I can't think of lyrics on top, but it was like, he looked for me and he found me like Nemo. He took me
Hmm.
back. He took
Yeah,
me,
I remember
yeah,
I was like, the Nemo line is crazy. I think for me, Rain is just the most, what I was going to say about it was it's the most beautiful song on the album to me, at least.
yeah,
Because it's like, it's just, you can tell it's, like you said, it just came so naturally. Like, the verse came so naturally, the flows and the notes on that song. That one's up there as one of my favorites on the
yeah,
album.
yeah. So it just came like that, and then I remember thinking like, I wouldn't say Rain was the last song to make on the album. I wouldn't say that. I think so, but I want to say I'll Get Back to You was probably the last one I made, because
Hmm.
that was the first. Like I remember I made I'll Get Back to You, and I'm like, I'm gonna just save this for the album. But then I'm like, man, but this one's good. Like this
Yeah,
is
I'll
like,
get back to you. You sent that to me,
yeah,
like, and you were ready to go with it, and I was like, let's go. I mean, send
yeah.
it.
I was like, I want to drop it already. Like this one's good. Like, and the thing is about this though is like, I already had Yahweh, Go, Is It You, and I'll Get Back to You. I feel there's another one. Oh, and Blessing Me. I haven't even talked about that one yet. But I hear that. I don't know if y'all
Hmm.
can hear that, but that's thunder. But I already have 5 songs already out, like released. But Yahweh and Go, I didn't even think those were gonna be on the album. I just made
Hmm.
those just as singles. But I'm like, man, they fit the album. So I already had 5 songs. So well, at the time I had 4 songs. I'm like, man, I'm not trying to drop. I'll Get Back to You just because like I don't want to give too much of my album away. But I'm like, man, like we got to like. And I remember like I'm like, all right, bet like I threw it in there, submitted it for like the next 2 weeks or something like that, promoted it with Chris, and I'm like, bro, like that joint skyrocketed. I'm talking about
Hmm.
we got like streams the first night, like people were staying up listening to it on the first night, and then all of a sudden we got like 400 streams in a day. Like I remember I sent that to Chris.
Hmm.
I was like, yo, bro, we got like 400 streams in a day, bro. Like what the heck? Like he's like, bro, ain't no way. Like you capping, da da da. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
the numbers on the singles that are out right now, like the you be that you're posting that you're sending me,
yeah,
it's, I think that kind of adds to the whole movement aspect of what Save the Youth is.
yeah,
And I think that's why this album is just, it's in a perfect season,
it is.
you know.
And everybody's been texting me, blowing up my phone, like, hey, like, drop the album, like we need, because it's honestly it's been
It's been a while.
like we've been promoting it for a while, like it was a long stretch. I'm surprised it's already next week, coming out next week, next
I
Friday,
know. It's
but well at this time we're recording this
mhm.
next Friday, but you know I remember saying, but I'm like, man, like I don't want to rush it. I remember telling him, I'm like, I ain't trying to rush it. I'm not trying to
Mhm.
just throw songs and whatever. Like it's gonna come out. It's gonna come out. Like I mean, no one's gonna lose their heads. And you be seeing TikTokers where they promote songs and they never drop them like for months. Like I'm not trying to be like that, but I'm like this is an album. It's not like no single. This is an
Mhm.
album. So I'm not trying. I'm trying to make it the best representation of what Save the Youth is. It's like a debut
Mhm.
for me. Like.
I was gonna say that. I think even because if you're a long time fan and you've been listening and you remember Some Say It's Selfish, I think honestly, even if we consider Some Say It's Selfish and the EP you had on SoundCloud, with those 7 songs, which is the only real like project you had out whenever I
Which
started
one was
listening
that
to
one?
you. I can't even
Is
remember.
it called Love Stories or yeah,
Yeah,
Love Stories.
I think honestly, if you do consider all those, Save the Youth is your debut album in
For
my mind
sure.
for
I just
album
yeah.
wise.
I
I
remember
remember
you
we
were
were talking. He called me one night, and I was at a Starbucks. Like I mean, it was probably like 11 p.m. and we had like an hour and a half long conversation from anything about like the marketing of the album, you know, doing the merch and stuff. But one thing we really talked about was, you know, how do we want the album to come together?
yeah, we're talking about the track list.
Hmm.
Yeah, like how we wanted it to sound like. And I wasn't even gonna put skits. Like I'm not. I never thought of like. I always thought like people who throw skits are kind of like trying to waste like space to make it look bigger than what it is. But then that's why I told him. He's like, nah, like just put skits to kind of like slow it
Hmm.
down or like to change it, like transition it. So I only put two skits in there, but it was just me like explaining what the next song was gonna be. But I feel like it just flowed perfectly, and I have it. I have it on a playlist. And I be hearing it in my car here on my
Hmm.
AirPods, and I'm like, man, like this is good. Like it just flowed perfectly. But yeah, I feel like this is my debut, man. It's just like everybody's been waiting for it. People are like, take my money. I want the album. Like this and that. And then, I'll be sending private links, whatever. I think I
Hmm.
sent you the private link, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, I sent him the
I
private
have
link.
the whole album. I
Yeah,
mean,
yeah, yeah, yeah. So I be sending private links like to certain people and stuff. And I'm starting to put more money into the album, meaning like promotion wise, marketing wise, trying to put sponsor on Instagram and this and that. And everybody's commenting, everybody likes it, and then
it's
you know,
it's. I'm excited for it.
there's a
Like this,
reason. There's a
there's a
reason.
lot that's gone into it. I mean, gosh, it's been a long. We like I say you took your time with the music, but like when it comes to like the decision making and stuff, like the bouncing off ideas, we took our time with this one,
Yeah,
and
because
I
it
think it
was
definitely shows. You know, I'm excited for it. I can't wait for people to hear it. Like I
nah,
can't
yeah,
wait.
yeah, for sure. We already right now like right now like with just the songs that we have out like with that are going to be on the album is already about to be 10,000 streams just
Hmm.
from the songs that are already out. So I already know like, and my biggest thing like we have like the 2024 goals and all that. I'm like, man, like my goal, my main thing I have is I'm gonna have at least 10,000 monthly listeners before this year ends, and that's just with like just like music. That's just off the muscle in general. Like I'm not with no label. It's Save the Youth all day. Like I'm not with no label. I'm not with a team in that sense. Like it's just me, you know what I mean, and people that want to rock with me and that support it, repost and share it and all that. So I was just like this is off the muscle, man. Like I'm
Hmm.
just it's gonna happen. It's gonna work. And like I said, like say some say Selfish. If you were there and you listened to the album, some say Selfish was beautiful, man. Like, I love the
I love
album.
that album.
Yeah, it was good. But it's something different about Say to You. Like it's a whole different.
It's very. I think it shows a maturity
Yeah,
for those who were in that some say it's selfish era.
yeah, because you're
It's
talking about something way deeper and like
yeah, it's the brutality of the honesty on some of these songs.
yeah.
Of you know, is it Count My Blessings? The one that you were talking about, how literally the lyrics are how you felt at that moment in your life.
I think you're talking about Blessing Me.
Yeah, blessing me.
Blessing Me. That was like the lit. If you go listen to it, I'm just like I'm
Hmm.
talking about I don't really like I really don't put too much like into the music in the sense of like my life like oh, I went through this yesterday, went through this today and I don't do that too much because I'm not trying to like overflow y'all with my feelings and like in that sense. But
Hmm.
only thing I overflow y'all with my feelings and my love for God, my love for Jesus, right? But with Blessing Me, I was like I made that blessing me, Father, put your rest in me. Then I was like, when I came up with the verse, I'm like, man, I just want to talk about it. Like, I just want to talk about what I was going through, and it was just like, it was like kind of a conversation with God. If you listen to Blessing Me, it's like a conversation with God. Like I'm talking to Him, and I'm just like I was in the back of the church doing the music, like in the sound booth, make sure the mics are good. I was doing the video, whatever, for the live stream, and I was like, and I remember feeling like in the song I was like, I was in the back of the church doing the music, trying to figure out what I'm doing. I knew I had a purpose, but I was taking it to the ruins. Like it was like I knew like I was supposed to be doing something for God. At that time, I was doing that for God, like doing it for the church, da da da. But I wasn't living my life for God. Like I wasn't listening to Christian music. I wasn't like doing anything that I'm doing now. So when when I wrote those lyrics, I'm like, man, like I gotta like I have a whole purpose. I got a talent that I can use for God, and I'm taking it to the ruins. Like I'm just another statistic. You know what I mean? Like I gotta be someone different. And the thing too that I like to say about Save the Youth is like save the youth is not just like oh it's like a saying like oh save the youth. It's just like letting people know like if you're here in this generation, if you're Gen Z or whatever it is, like there's a reason why you're here. Like there's a direct reason why you're in Gen Z. Gen Z is probably the um most temptation, the most suicidal, the most all these different things. This is that generation. There's a reason why you're here, not for you to go through that and suffer and suicidal and do all these different things, but to be a voice, to talk to somebody, to let people know like hey, Jesus loves, like something like that can plant a seed. So there's a reason why you're here right now. Some people like to express it, some people don't. Some people just want to live in emotions and go to church on Sunday and that's it. But it's like there's more than life to that. There's more than the God that created the universe. You tell me the God created the universe, and there's Billy Grahams, there's all these pastors, all these big pastors and all that. You think that the God who created the universe and He created you, think He just wants you to go to church on Sunday and that's it, and just checking the box? Like no, like He has a bigger plan and purpose for you. You know what I mean? So that's how I realized. I'm just like, man, like this is my destiny. I was gonna make music no matter what. Like I already knew it. The enemy, he already had me. He was like, you're gonna make music for me. You're gonna make music for God. So I was like, I was already in that route. I was gonna make music in general, but you gotta realize, like, even if it was I would, to this day I can stand on this and say someone can throw me a million, a billion, 2 bill, whatever it is, to make music for somebody else or to be featured on a song that is nothing of God. I'm not gonna do it. And I can stand on that just because it's like I'm not gonna put my riches on earth where a moth and rust destroy, like the Bible says. I have my riches in heaven where it's protected, where thieves can't steal it. So that's where I'm at. Just standing on my Father's business, man. And this is where the album's at, man. So you know, but
Save the Youth, March 22nd.
yes, sir.
It's like I said, I'm excited for it.
For sure, man. And hey, let y'all know if you should start doing his own podcast, man.
I'm thinking about it. It might be in the works.
The Yeltons.
Fall 2024, possibly.
Oh, fall. All right. Yeah. So I appreciate y'all time.
Yeah.
That's what it is. All right.
Make
Peace.
sure y'all listen. Make sure y'all repost,
Post,
share,
like,
send to your mom,
comment,
your dad,
grandma,
your cousin, your aunts, your uncles.
everybody.
Your grandma would probably love rain, if we're being honest.
Exactly.
So
come on now. Exactly.
All right,
man. Appreciate all the features on the album. Just want to give credit to Yale, Chris, Paris Carriz, Jahil. I don't want to leave nobody out. My brother Israel. I think that's all the features I got, right? Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, so all the features on the album. If I miss somebody, my fault. Like all the features on the album, everybody who put time in it, all the producers, everybody, da da da. Appreciate everybody rocking with me, making this album come together, and people just reposting on TikTok, sharing on Instagram, liking, commenting, all that. So yeah, so appreciate all the love. We out.